actually go off-roading, or did I just throw mud on my truck in the mall parking lot? The world may never know. Welcome back to the channel, everyone. I hope you are having a fantastic day. So yes, I did go off-roading last weekend, and while I was driving home, I thought it'd be good to share with you guys things I do to my truck or things I inspect on my truck immediately after I go off-roading. And yes, the first part will be things I inspect on my truck before I actually wash it. I know it's usually tempting to go ahead and, get all that mud and crap off your truck, get it back looking nice and pretty, but I wanted to share a few quick things to do that actually makes it easier to check while your truck is covered in mud. Of course, use common sense when you're off-roading. If you go over a large rock and hear a super loud thud, metal on metal contact, or if you hear something breaking, hear a tire pop, obviously get out and inspect it right then on the trail. I'm just gonna go over general things you can inspect on your truck after off-roading if you have not had any like major incidents where you're pretty sure you damaged your truck, just to make sure everything's running smoothly. So without further ado, let's go over what to inspect while you're inspecting.
That's gross.
Yes, I know, this is usually a nightmare to see. A completely filthy engine bay splashes all the way up here. But for today's purposes, it will actually make it easier because the dried mud will actually provide a nice contrast, allowing you to see any kind of leaks at all, whether it's oil, coolant, anything, leaking out of your battery. So go ahead and go over the entire engine bay. It might help to have a flashlight or like a shop light. Sort of take your time, go over the major sections, like if you can see like around your oil filter, battery terminals. Anything leaking out where it's not supposed to be should provide a nice contrast because you can see it on the light brown of the mud, allowing you to easily spot an oil leak. Despite being filthy, everything under here actually looks okay though. Next up, again, while everything's still covered in dirt, get under here and inspect the front suspension first. You can see right here, I did not place this here. I actually have a nice size stick sort of wedged up in here, so I'm gonna go ahead and throw that out. You don't want that poking any of your boots. So just like with under the engine bay, go ahead and inspect your shocks, make sure nothing's leaking out of there. Inspect the boots on your tie rods and your CV to make sure you don't have any fresh tears. Don't want to get that nasty trail dirt in there mixing with the grease for all those. And again, if you hit something and like your steering wheel's now cocked to one side or your truck's pulling, obviously, as soon as you hit it, if you think it was hard enough, go ahead and pull over, inspect your tie rod and all that stuff. We actually had that happen to someone this weekend. We had to do sort of like a trail alignment for that. So just get under here, give everything a nice look over both sides, and then again in the back. And then for the rear suspension, it's a lot easier to inspect than the front, just to make sure, again, while everything's dirty, make sure nothing's leaking, no shock gas or shock liquid, depending on what type of shocks you have. Again, even though you can see my Bilsteins are filthy, I will clean them up pretty soon, but they look fine for now. For your leaf packs, just make sure they're still have the nice arch in them, they're not flattened out, make sure all the bolts are good to go. Brake lines, make sure you didn't flex those out, all that stuff. And for me personally, from this last off-roading trip, I do have a little damage to report. My V3 Triton switchbacks are not working correctly now. The turn signal still works, and this side comes on for the daytime running light. But this one is sort of in like flicker mode, where it's on, goes off for like a second, comes back on real quick, goes off, and it's like a steady pattern. Might have to go ahead and upgrade these soon. And as you can see up here, this nice scratch right here, I mean, my whole front bumper is pretty much ruined at this point, so I guess I gotta go ahead and upgrade that too. And here's a better shot of the front little scrape I got with everything sort of washed off. It looks like it actually, I poked a hole right through this sort of plastic lower lip here on the front, but not to worry, we'll get this fixed in no time. And of course, once you get all the dirt washed off your truck, go ahead and give the truck a thorough walk around, inspect all the body panels, especially if you are like me this last time out. I swear I like ran over a branch and I felt like it popped up back here and hit the side of the truck somewhere, but I don't see any damage looking down the side. Sometimes it can be hard to see in the light, but if you hit it like at a sharp angle like this, you can usually see any kind of new dents. So I guess it just popped up and either hit the slider or maybe underneath like the leaf spring, but when I did it, I swear it sounded like it was right back here. This is of course also a good time to inspect your sliders. The bottoms of mine are still dirty. Want to sort of stay on top of any new scratches. Like I've got one right here. You can go ahead and put a new coat of whatever kind of paint you want to use. I use bed liner in my case. Just because it goes on a little thick, blends in nicely, gives it a nice little texture. Go ahead and get all that covered up before it starts rusting on you, since we all know how much fun that is to deal with. And then down this side looks fine. Not sure if it's going to come up in the light, but I do have like a ding right about here. That's been that's actually, I had that before I got the truck wrapped. No big deal. These things happen if you are brave enough to leave the mall parking lot. And of course, don't forget about your bloody tires. After you are done off-roading for the day, you will go ahead and air back up on the trail. But either later that night or probably the next morning after the tires cool off, go ahead and take your pressure gauge, check the PSI you have in your tires, whatever that may be. Make sure it's not losing any pressure overnight. Look for some kind of rogue puncture or anything like that. Inspect the sidewall, make sure you don't have any new damage, all that stuff. And of course, do that for all 4 tires. Alright everyone, just a quickie video today, but make sure you give your truck a good inspection, both while it's dirty and then after you get it washed every time you go off-roading, just to stay on top of any potential issues you may have, any new trail damage you might have received while out there having some fun. If this is your first time stopping by, please consider subscribing. If you love everything related to Tacomas, go ahead and hit the bell notifications so you are notified every time I upload a video, which is just about every other day now. Give the video a like, comment below, and make sure you share the video with your friends and family on social media. Enjoy the rest of your week, and I will see you in the next video.